Hello and welcome to a Touchline Fracas podcast. I'm your host Lewis, and on this week's show our panel will be giving their reaction to last week's interview with Who Scored Editor-in-Chief Ali Tweedale. We will also be discussing some of our own ideas and thoughts around stats in football, as well as answering some of your listeners' questions. So before we get cracking, let's introduce today's guests. We have Palace fan Reuben. How you doing, Reuben?
Hi there, you alright?
We have Arsenal fan Mickey.
How you doing, guys?
We also have two United fans, Morayo and Ayo. How you doing, guys?
Should have done us separately, mate. I'm alright, man.
No, you guys don't deserve that treatment. Right. Morayo, I'll start with you. We'll start with the interview itself. I'll take it you listened to it. Obviously, I hope you came prepared.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. How did you find the interview?
It was good, man. It was a welcome change, because before the interview I thought it was going to be like normally how we do it, the four of us, and then all like kind of barraging in with questions. But then when I thought about it, that wouldn't have made a lot of sense. But yeah, I liked it. There was one question that I was hoping somebody would have asked, but they didn't. Just the weight of goals in stats. So, you know, let's say somebody scores a goal in like a 5-0, like he scores a 6th goal, in comparison to somebody getting like a wonder goal or like an equaliser in a big match. Like, how were they weighted? Are they equally weighted? But you didn't ask that. But other than that, he left us a lot to think about, man. I enjoyed it.
Good. Reuben, you listened to the interview. Were there any surprising elements to the way Who Scored operate, or anything surprising that you found that Ali said?
I wouldn't say surprising. It was just it was very interesting the way he described how they measure the stats, such as the key passes and the pass before the assist, and how it must be sort of like a potential assist rather than just a sideways pass and stuff. So it was quite eye-opening in that sense. But I wouldn't say there was too many surprises. It was just interesting to find out how they did it.
Yeah. I asked Ali about how stats are used in American football, and he sort of said, I think his words were that it's more difficult to use the statistics they use in like NBA and NFL and baseball, because football is not a succession of set pieces, and it's more difficult to assess. I mean, do you think there's anything we could learn from American sports in the way we use stats in football?
I think it's quite difficult, because with American sports, for example, like basketball and American football is very role specific, whereas football is a team game. For example, basketball is 5-on-5, so if one person makes a mistake or one person has a particular individual brilliance, it has a great significance then on the football pitch. So that's why stats are quite more prominent in American sports. But I do think that there's things we could learn, for example, like the depth they go into with stats. Like if you listen to like an American game, like NFL or something, the commentators are throwing out stats quickly, and it's relevant and in depth. So I think that's something that we kind of learn, rather than the typical, this person scored this amount of goals type thing. So yeah, I don't think it's completely different to our commentators, where like if you watch an NBA game, you might hear something like, Durant has scored 35, got 8 assists on 55% shooting in the last 17 times he's played in the West Coast or something crazy like that. Whereas when it comes to football, the stats are a bit more basic, like, Wayne Rooney scored 15 goals in 20 games against Aston Villa. Where there's so many stats that we could go into, like we never really hear a commentator talk about key pass stats or pass percentage in game. So I think that's something where there could be room for improvement. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Mickey, I mean, you're a coach, so I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Ali believed that the general public and average football fan, they're not quite there in terms of their understanding of how football stats should be incorporated into how to judge a player's performance or how to judge a player's ability. Do you think there's anything the media or clubs themselves could do to help educate fans in order to understand these statistics?
Well, yeah, I think just by placing a focus on using stats
as an accessory to an understanding of football, and by just highlighting the fact that the basis of an opinion shouldn't be based on stats, but should be based on the context of the game, an actual view of the game. You know, it's a case of really highlighting that for the casual football fan, of saying, you know what, okay, so-and-so scored this many amount of goals, but you know, did you watch the game? What was the timing of the goal? Was it a goal that was a winner, or did it come after the team was already 3-4-0 up with a man down, so on and so on? So I just think if you're going to use one particular stat, I think it would help if they used other stats in conjunction with that, just to help build a bigger picture. I think that's one way, or one of the means that clubs could further educate the average football fan, because a lot of the time that's what just happens, whether it's a match report, because a lot of the time that's what it is, it's a match report, either online or match of the day, or certain highlights, maybe showing the statistics at particular times that are relevant to the game, which I think would further help.
Okay. I'll tell you what, there was an interesting thing. This question applies to everyone, by the way. Ali, I asked Ali about how do clubs use who scored, and he replied that clubs use who scored player rating systems, and I think he said I think he alluded to that certain scouts use their actual their strengths and weaknesses focus. Their feature,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know what you guys thought about that, because that sounds very Football Manager-esque.
Yeah, it does. I think there's reason to do that. Like, I don't know what goes on in real football scouting, obviously, because I'm more of a FIFA Football Manager guy, and I haven't been there. But you know, if you're looking for a player with a certain attribute, I guess it's a quick way of narrowing down who you want.
Right. Yeah.
But it's still it's a very not a very thorough way. I'm sure they do more and they don't just use that, but it's a very it's not thorough in the research, but it is a quick way of narrowing down who you might want. So I can understand why scouts do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I do remember listening to the interview, and I do remember him saying that obviously there's a certain level of research, and they do look at certain metrics to decide, okay, whether to give player A this strength or this weakness.
Yeah. And it's compared against the other players as well. That's what
exactly,
Ali said.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there is as long as there's a process, it's always going to be flawed. There's never going to be a foolproof means to measure someone's particular ability. But I think it is a decent process to do that, and just to make it easier for the casual reader.
Yeah.
I know of scouts that worked in a professional game, and what they'll tend to do, any statistics that they look up will always be backed up by video analysis. Always be backed up by video analysis. So I think this is very important to highlight that in the professional game, it isn't just a case of just looking at databases of players, pass completion, key passes, touches on the ball, distance covered, so on and so on. I think it's important for the average footballing fan to know that at the top level of the game, even then, professionals use video analysis. They look at games, and they don't just look at it at once. They tend to view matches at least 3 times to pick up on things that they haven't seen, and that's what they use as the basis for their opinion. And then they'll use things like who scored. I even heard even Football Manager.
Yeah, I've heard that before as well.
Yeah, even Football Manager, like literally.
Miles, is it Miles? Miles Jacobs, I think it is. I think he's very defensive of. I saw him and Stan Collymore having an argument, I think, about a year ago on Twitter, and
Yeah.
Stan Collymore was basically saying, you know what, all you Football Manager hipsters make me sick. It's not a good way of judging about a footballer, judging how good a footballer is at or what they're good at. It's just a game. And Miles Jacobs basically replied saying, do you know what, statistics have shown, I don't know how the statistics work on this front, but he basically said that 99% of the time, or something, I can't remember the exact statistic, but he said that their attributes and their statistics are so accurate that they get the ability and the potential right. So they can judge somehow whether the player is going to maximise his potential or grow into the attributes or that they've put.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I've been playing Football Manager since I was 11 years old. It's crazy to think I've been playing for almost 15 years, and for me, there's a reason behind that. Not just me, for a lot of people, there's a reason people don't call it a game. And if you hear about the way they compile the data, these are not just video. These are not people that are video game experts.
No,
people that compile the data are actually footballing people.
Yeah.
Actually stick with their clubs. Actually, there, day in, day out. Thousands of people across the world.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that you can compare to the Americans, if you're in reference to your earlier questions to Io, is the fact that football is very much behind in terms of sports data and analytics. We're quite behind. So there is more. There's a lot of room for growth, and there is more respect to be given to people that work in data, in sports data. But it's just, again, don't use it as the basis of your opinion. Use it as an accessory.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point there, Mickey. Morayo, Ali raised a good point about how he felt as though the younger generation were more in tune with statistics and more welcoming of statistics. I mean, what do you think it would take to maybe get the older generation on board? Because obviously, from their point of view, is that football existed before stats, and managers existed before stats, coaches existed before stats. I mean, is it an ignorant view from their side, or do you feel that they have some sort of basis to not be as accepting of stats in football?
You know what I think it is? It's a generational thing, because I get the same thing with my mum. She's a technophobe. Like, literally, I had to show her how to use Skype. I taught her how to properly use a laptop.
Oh, you should get Ellis's mum to teach her to use Skype.
Yeah, shout out to Ellis, man. Anyway, yeah, so I think it's a generational thing, and you know what it is? They've got a point, to be honest with you. Stats, when you're dealing with human beings, stats can only tell you so much, man. Even, you said something about 90% of how accurate Football Manager is. I most probably call that bullshit, because you can't predict how a guy's going to change, man, over the years. Something might just click in him, and, you get a different player. And so I get their point, but...
Yeah. Sorry to interject, just to carry on your point, Morayo, sorry. I think the thing is, with the continued emphasis on stats, and how readily available they are, I think with the older generation, and they do have a legitimate concern for this, is people, even in coaching, you lose the art, that that intuition, that sense gets lost.
Exactly.
And
because you're constantly looking at the numbers.
Yeah, like you might think a player's a good passer, but because the stats say he's not, maybe I wasn't right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same sort of thing with with betting as well. I mean, you can look at all the stats you want, their previous head-to-heads, their previous form, certain things like that. But sometimes something doesn't replace the gut feel that you have, the intuition that you get.
Thinking, man.
And sometimes stats sway your opinion, and then afterwards you think, I wish I'd just gone with my gut.
Exactly.
So I think a lot of people, especially the older generation, are used to going along with their gut and their intuition and their knowledge of what they have.
Well, because they grew up in a period where they had no choice.
Exactly.
When they went out to scout, they had to
physically go and watch the player.
Yeah, and they had to develop that. And I think whenever you become set in a particular way of doing something, you don't really, you don't want to learn. You don't want to learn how to do it again. But I think the best people are people that kind of use them. They don't let it completely take over their way of doing things, but they recognise the benefits of using things like data and sports data. And it's for me, it's always about adapting. So you marry the two. It's the old school and the new school. It's the same principle in football. You always have to adapt, but you don't completely take away what's made you successful in the first place. It's always about tweaking, it's adding the little bits. And I think if we're going to use statistics to analyse matches or performers, even managers, sometimes when we come across arguments and comparisons, in terms
Win
of
percentage
managerial
ratio and all that
ability,
stuff.
win percentages, trophies won, so on and so on, and they don't look at the actual, what I like to call the intangibles. For me, stats are the tangible things. It's the things that are there and they're clear to see, but the intangible things are a bit more subjective. There's a lot more interpretation that goes on, and that's
It takes more skill. It takes more skill when it comes to the intangible things. I think the human side is a bit underrated. Like, I don't know how much research clubs do into players before signing them. Like, how the environment they thrived in terms of their role in the team, in terms of,
I think it's a very undeveloped discipline. I think it's a very undeveloped or maybe underused metric when measuring how good a player can be or how they'll suit the team. I think there's only certain clubs that really look into personality. I think
you have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because certain players, a manager has his style, and certain players just won't suit that style. And that means you shouldn't be signing him in the first place, Maybe certain players need a bit more leeway to thrive. Like, I remember how Fergie's always had this reputation of being, like, a tough guy, but when it came to, like, Cantona, he knew just, like, I had to dial it down a bit, because if I tried to put the reins on him, it wouldn't work, and he reaped the rewards of it, really.
Yeah, put it this way, if you look at a manager, right, someone like AVB, because obviously he's young, and from what I know of him, and what I've been told, people that have worked with him directly, literally, they say he was very, very scientific, very, very statistically orientated, and so much so that kind of, that art, that human ability to kind of assess someone on a personal level, that's where he was lacking. So
I can see that, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there you have it, even there at the top of the game with a manager, and there's other managers like that. So I think the best managers, they look at the two things. Someone like, and that's why Mourinho, is arguably on par. At least one of the best, is because
who would you guys say is like an old school manager? Who if you guys had to have a guess, who do you think would be the manager who'd be like, you know what, I'm not using statistics.
Redknapp.
You think Harry Redknapp?
Pulis and Redknapp.
Yeah.
Redknapp was really stupid. Pulis more because he looked
No, but you know what? Like I said, like the reason I said I know someone who worked with AVB is because I got to talk to a guy called Peter Suckling or Perry Suckling, one of the two. He was a first team goalkeeper coach at Spurs. I don't know if he still is now, or Pochettino took over, but he was. And even Redknapp, he would kind of downplay his kind of footballing intelligence. He didn't want to come across that way. But he was kind of underrated tactically. Essentially, that's what he was saying. But I could still see him being a type of manager that didn't really, how can I put it, didn't really embrace the kind of more new school of thinking.
Yeah.
I do remember him calling out AVB, like all these managers with their 75-page dossiers, like.
Yeah, exactly. Someone like him, Neil Warnock.
Neil Warnock must be.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like,
no, we're only mentioning British managers.
I don't
yeah. But do you know what? I
find
find that a bit strange, because I would have imagined that some foreign coaches, especially the older generation, would have. I don't think maybe Fabio Capello, maybe or someone like Sven.
We are mentioning those guys, but I think.
Or Roy Hodgson. Roy Hodgson strikes me as the type of guy you probably don't even know how to turn on his laptop.
No, I'll be pretty sick if Roy Hodgson was that way. I think Roy Hodgson, in my opinion.
Am I being a bit harsh there?
Yeah. I'm thinking of that, Vine that's going around when he's like happy then sad, really.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That Vine is quality.
Yeah, I just feel like, back to your original question, I just feel like stats there, without the context, it's nothing really. I have to just agree with what Mickey's been saying. And it's tough, man, because how much detail are these guys really looking to go into? Because when you look at some of the moves, players, like, I know, like, we debate, like, okay, how much can you really comment on football when you haven't played at the highest level, blah, blah, blah. But there's even some things that I can see as, like, an armchair fan, it just doesn't make sense to me. The moves they're making, and it's like, you guys are getting paid to do this, and even from my house, I can see this isn't going to work, and you're right, and it's like, boy, so, Not much I can say in that regard, man.
Reuben, is there a statistic in football that literally makes you want to throw up every time you see it?
Oh, no, not really. I think pass completion is probably the one that's most overused and taken out of context sometimes. So that's annoying when people misuse them. But I can't really think of too many completely irrelevant stats. Like if you're trying to judge who's the best number 10, and say two players have really similar physical attributes, then chances created is probably one of the best ones to go to. So no, I can't really think of a particular stat that people bring up a lot that's irrelevant, but pass completion can be the one that's used out of context the most, I think, yeah.
Ayo, I know you've got a few that make you sick.
Key passes. How could... I remember I had this thought, then I saw Dennis Bergkamp say something. He goes, how can you tell me how a pass influenced the game? And that's what I like to know, because, for example, we're having a discussion and people, I remember, I think it was between me, you and Leo, and he was like, Ursula Creed had 5 key passes. I was like, what key pass? Because I was thinking, what key pass did he make? And then I found out that key pass leads, if it leads a shot on goal, it's a key pass.
Yeah, that's what Ali said. I believe that a key pass is the assist. Or it could be...
It has to lead to a potential goal/assist.
Yeah, so basically, if you passes it and someone cuts it back and they score, that's a key pass.
Okay, for example, a key pass would be, I've got the ball in, let's say, the right channel, and I've come back in play, and I've passed it across the box. I'm going to pass it across the pitch, and you're 35 yards out. You hit it first time, and the keeper tips it just so far. That's a key pass. But why is that key? Because if let's say I pass it to a guy like Sandro. So if Ericsson passes it to Sandro, and Sandro kicks it, and the keeper makes a good save, that's a key pass. But let's say the person was cleverly he passed it to. It's the same pass, same accuracy, but because cleverly he passes it on, it's no longer a key pass. So, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like a stat that has 200 variable.
Yeah, I think that's the stat that's the most. It's got the most subjectivity about it.
Yeah, because even Ali seemed to be a bit like.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He agreed with that because he is quite a subjective.
Because that's the thing. The thing about creativity. I think a lot of people.
It's very hard to judge it, isn't it?
Yeah, creativity is something that
they named the stat something more tangible and objective.
Yeah, because when you think of creativity, it's a mental aspect anyway. It's very hard to put mental attributes into numbers.
There's 2 kinds of creativity as well, because this is another thing why another reason why you have to watch football to a certain level to make sense of stats, because you also have to look at the way teams are set up and how that individual will play because of the way that team is set up. Exactly. So for example, right, you may have a stat that, for all intents and purposes, defines creativity. So key passes in this respect. I remember reading something along the lines of Gerrard, because he had the most key passes out of another player. This is a debate I had with another individual. He was more creative than that person. But I was like, well, Gerrard plays in a more direct team where there's more off-the-ball runners, there's more pace to their game, and they play to create a lot of chances often.
They're more aggressive.
Yeah, they're just more aggressive. Whilst this other player could have this similar amount of creativity, but because there's a more patient build-up to him.
Exactly.
That's why he may not have as much key passes as Steven Gerrard. So that's why it's important to have not only think about watching that individual, but watch how that individual plays within that team.
Yeah.
Does his role dictate?
Also, one thing I also don't like, sorry to cut you off here, is how there's because of I think he's kind of on the back of the whole Pep era with Barcelona and Spain, the tiki-taka, fans kind of a bit snobbish to other styles of play and executions of good bit of football. For example, I think I was having this debate with somebody, how can you say this person's good at creating chances when most of them are coming from crosses compared to through balls basically I was like, at the end of the day, if this player is putting in great deliveries and is connecting, because it's still a hard technique to cross the ball, and the recipient has to time his run and supposed to connect the same way as the recipient of a through ball has to time his run and connect. So, there's kind of
I definitely agree with you. That goes back to my question. It's just what do you define as creativity? Because recently, creativity is kind of the more patient, more probing kind of tone but creativity could have been. You could say David Beckham wasn't creative at his peak. David Beckham was insanely creative, but we don't think about his creativity in the same sense that we think about Xavi and Iniesta's creativity, Kelme's creativity. Do you know what I mean?
It's aesthetics, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Aesthetics, style. And what I was going to say is, I think we were talking about it before, that influence. How can you? There's no stat for somebody's influence. Like, how can you put that on data to confirm that how influential they are on the match? I think we were talking about Iniesta and Mata, and who was a better player. I think I was discussing it on Twitter the other day, and obviously the person agreed with me that it was Iniesta. But when you look at their stats, Iniesta, I don't think he scored over 10 goals in any season. I don't think he ever really puts up too many assists either. But you wouldn't even say him and Mata are on the same level as footballers. But when you look at the stats, it says Mata gets like almost 20 goals, 20 assists. So, you know, you have to watch and understand that Iniesta plays in a system where it demands more of him. He plays in less space. He might play a pass that unlocks the top. So, you know, yeah, it's about context.
He's also got to be less selfish as well.
Exactly. Much less selfish, actually. Yeah.
So,
I think...
Yeah, go on, Mickey, go on.
I think at the end of the day, man, the easy solution to all of this is just people just watch more football. Try to understand it more. It's just that easy. Just watch more football and try to understand it more. Because then, you know, maybe your opinion may stay the same. Who's to say it will change? But at least it's a solid backbone. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's an informed opinion as opposed to a presumptuous one built on something that doesn't supply context. You know, and, you know, like we were saying before, there's that, you know, stats is purely scientific. It doesn't take into account the intangible things, you know, the style of play, the mental aspect of it as well, you know, so, you know, because influence may have nothing to do with what a player does on the ball.
Exactly.
So for example, right, what I mean, let's talk about influence in a negative sense, right? Messi for Argentina barely pressed. He barely pressed, if at all. But he still influenced them in a sense that because of his lack of pressing, it affected the defensive productivity of other players, because now the midfield and the defence have more to deal with. Or, for example, you could talk about pressing in a positive sense. Where's that stat for the influence of their pressing? So, for someone like, I don't know, like Jordan Henderson, right? His pressing game is highly influential to the way Liverpool played last season. But the only stat.
But if you put him in another system, it might not be.
Yeah, but if we were to use, okay, so what stat could we, you know, gather his pressing by? Okay, distance covered. But his distance covered could be something very similar to another player that doesn't do anything close to the pressing he does.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
That's another one I don't like. I think I said it in the interview last week.
I like this. I don't like this one's covered.
Yeah. I
I
only like it when I'm defending Mesut Ozil, and that's it.
No, because the thing with Mesut Ozil is, I remember, I can't remember I remember somebody said something. I can't remember what pundit it was. It was about David Beckham, who was playing central midfield. Went out for England, and I think he was to Turkey, where people are like, he needs to show more passion, and he ran quite a lot, and he did players great. And then somebody said, yes, David Beckham ran way more than anybody else. But he goes, this is between working harder and working smarter. That's why I like. That's why I like players like Mesut Ozil, because yes, Mesut Ozil may not cover as much distance as Jordan Henderson, but in the key moments of the game, Ozil puts in the right amount of running. Same way, like, I think Ronaldo, even defensively, he doesn't do a lot of. He won't see much move from Ronaldo. But in terms of that, he's very aggressive in his movement. He's running a lot. He's moving around. So, like, I don't like.
Because I think even with the pressing thing, like, a lot of people would think about this is covered, he must have worked hard, but it's like, well, it depends on how he's pressing. Yeah, because it's like, if you're just pressing and making the team lose shape, then
just running.
What's the benefit of what he's doing?
A lot of fans in United did that last season, where Welbeck will just press high, chase it from side to side, and because he's pressing on his own, he's not pressing 2s and 3s and 4s, he's just creating gaps on the pitch. So then they get people like, oh, Welbeck worked really hard for the team. Well, maybe that game, Welbeck's overrunning cost the team. Like, where's the stats to show how people don't understand guys like that, especially the prime Barca team, Iniesta, Messi, Samuel Eto'o, all those guys, they press really hard the pitch and they won the ball back very quickly.
But do you think there is a stat that we could manufacture to You know.
Nah, there's no way, because at the end of the day, right?
I think it's too
too detailed. No, it's not even that. It just goes back to the fact that you have to understand what the team is trying to do and have a more thorough understanding of football, because it's like, okay, you can have a stat that measures that, but what's to say that stat gives you a picture of what that team is trying to do?
Yeah.
So, for example, right, a team like Bayern Munich, I think Hinks is Bayern Munich, they had a particular kind of pressing plan where they were always trying to, they didn't so much want to show players down wide. There are times they actually want to show players into central areas. So they would actually press to have the opposition go to central areas. There is no stat to tell you that's what they would like. They did that work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, for me, there's very much a limit.
Yeah.
As to what stats can actually show you.
Definitely. I think another thing is, I think we were talking about before the pod started about using stats to compare players, and one thing that bugs me is the defensive side of things. So a lot of people use that scorecard comparison matrix thing. And the first thing happened was when Debussy signed for Arsenal, you know, the stats came out to compare him with Sagnar, him with Raphael, him with Zabaleta. And they'll be like, oh, Debussy made more tackles per game than Sagnar, or, you know, won more headers per game than Sagnar. But, you know, that you can't use that to say, well, he's a better header of the ball, or he's a better tackler.
Exactly. For example, let me try to chip in. Example, like, Debussy is likely to face more 1v1 duels than Sagnar is, because Arsenal, because Arsenal tend to have around 55% more possession of the ball.
Yeah.
So he's less. Where he is more likely to be facing defensive situations than battering Sagnars.
Yeah.
So why, like, you know what I mean? It's just context.
Of course, it's all context. That's why I think the comparison side of things, especially in certain positions, I don't like when goalkeepers where it's like, oh, Keylor Navas had made the most saves in Europe last season. Well, he was probably playing in one of the crappiest teams in Europe, therefore had to make the most saves.
How many shots is Manuel Neuer?
Exactly, I was just going to say that. Neuer would probably be one of the lowest in Europe. It doesn't mean he's the worst goalkeeper in Europe.
Exactly.
When you start, you know, there needs to be an element of context, and I really don't like that scorecard matrix thing.
I think if you're going to use, anytime you use an individual stat, you're asking for trouble. Like, I don't even mind when people use stats in conjunction with other stats. So, for example, if we're talking about a goal scorer and how efficient he is, I'll use goals scored, shots on target, and chances converted. I'd use them in combination, and I think
that's what I said earlier.
You know, I think something like that would make sense. Same with passing. You know, chances created times key passing times pass completion times distance times area of the pitch. So, in terms of a stat, I would use it in terms of distances from the opposition goal to where the player was.
Yeah.
So, a guy who has 90% pass completion, 25 yards or 25 meters from the opposition goal, I'm tend to hold in higher esteem than someone who has 95 pass completion in 70 meters away from opposition goal. So, you know, if you are going to use statistics, use them in combination with others.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before the pod, I recommend everyone to download the 442 magazine app, and that has some really, really good, if you're into statistics, that has some really, really good match-by-match statistics, especially in play as well. So, especially when it comes to passing, they measure it by short, long, medium, defensive third, medium third, attacking third, and how many of those are completed, you know what I mean?
Like even with dribbling, same thing, you know, the distances in the players travel with, distance from goal, area of the pitch, how many players taken on in that one dribble, things like that. You know, it's not I think sometimes people get put off because now you're making the game more complex, you're overthinking things. But it's just like, I think as long as you have a wide depth.
Also,
information.
Quick stats of you know, when somebody says something about I think Lewis asked, what stats do you like? Take-ons. How can you what's a take-on? how. I want to know how to do it because, like, I can on this person A goes completely round and through defender A, or if I just run down the line quicker than him, a bit of coverage and put a ball in the box. And I want that. How do you want to take? Because I've seen some take on there's no way this guy is taking on more players than this guy. So it's just like, do you know what I mean? Like that, I think that's the difficulty with stats. And I think the people kind of tend to be anti-stats is because, as Mickey said, I wanted to build on it about how, in relation to individual stats, football is an 11-a-side sport.
Yeah. So
there's too much interdependence on your teammates.
Yeah.
Way too much interdependence. Whereas basketball, for example, or tennis, it's more individual based. For example, basketball is 5v5. Individual stats are very key because you have a massive influence on the game. Everybody has a massive influence. Everyone has a massive influence on the game. For example, let me give you an example. Arsenal beat. I didn't even see the game. Okay, let me use the game I watched. Man United versus Real Madrid. Well, no, Man United versus LA Galaxy. You can look at strategies for let's say, I don't know, one of our centre backs. How much defending was he doing in that game? And say he plays in that type of game 30 times a season, compared to, let me see, I don't know, let me think of I don't know, who plays in Newcastle back? Colaccini?
Yeah, Colaccini, Stephen Taylor.
Okay, no, forget that.
Yeah,
let's say Ron Vlaar, because Aston Villa probably in another relegation battle this year. Say, for example, somebody like Sergio Ramos, and you compare it to Ron Vlaar. More likely not, probably winning more headers on average, probably attempting more tackles on average, but you can't use that as a comparison because they're basically in essence in two different games because one person's engaging all the time, another person's not.
Yeah.
So, and I also think it's best to use a bit of wisdom when you compare stats. For example, like with a team like Arsenal, if you talk about defenders, especially fullbacks, guys like Gibbs and your Debussys, you may want to look at stats that are more of the ball because they will tend to be on the ball a lot more. Then if you're looking at a team like Stoke, you may not have. You may want to look at their defence. It's like, okay, how likely is this guy to win a header? How likely is this guy to get a block shot? So I think if there's a bit of sense and context used towards stats, I don't think anyone really mind. But I think the people kind of tend to watch football, kind of get the feeling that it's kind of a cop out. Like I'm sure you guys have seen that there's been a kind of a growth in how people talk about football as well. When it wasn't really like this 2-3 years ago. Am I lying, boys?
No.
No, not everyone had these pictures of their favourite team in their display pictures and whatnot. Never. Only a certain few people. But now football's getting a bit more popular, which is obviously good for us to talk about all the time. You can kind of see who's tend to be people understand football and actually follow it, and then you get quote unquote football hipsters. So I think that's just the main problem.
Yeah. Yeah. No. All right. Well, I think we'll leave the statistics side of things there. If you want to catch the interview of Who Scored, if you haven't caught it already, it's on our website. It's on SoundCloud. It's on YouTube, iTunes, the lot. So there's no excuse not to go and listen to it. And it's only 40 minutes long as well, so you're not going to be wasting too much time. We'll move on to some listeners' questions. So I've got a few. Do you guys have any that you want to get started with, or?
Yeah, I've got one that's quite interesting. Yeah, it's from Sweeper Keeper 1. He says Iker Casillas is better than Diego Lopez. Agree or disagree?
I think it's hard to judge. I don't think Diego Lopez is better, but I think right now it's hard to judge because if you look at Casillas' consistency for like over 10 years, that is no fluke in any way, shape or form. I think at the end of the day, his falling out at Real Madrid was partly mental and partly politics. Because if you look at the dressing room, 19, 20 years of age, so politics in Mourinho, because as a goalkeeper, you know, when you're on the bench for a certain amount of time, that will obviously affect your confidence, your ability to a certain extent. I don't think Diego Lopez has done anything whatsoever to say he's better than Iker Casillas right now. I think it's actually a case of his form has been better. He had more trust, and that stood him in good stead
No.
because that would be essentially calling out Diego Lopez a world-class goalkeeper,
Yeah.
which for me, he hasn't demonstrated that as of yet.
I mean, speaking as a goalkeeper, I would find it like I'd be a bit peeved off if I was judged solely on, say, the last 6 months or the last year of my career. And I think people have the tendency.
You've been around for as long as Casillas.
Exactly, people have the tendency to be a bit short-sighted, and you got to remember that class is permanent. And there's no doubt about it, Casillas was one of the best goalkeepers. Probably still is one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. And you know what? Diego Lopez deserved his place in the team, no doubt. But Fabianski displaced. Sorry.
That's because he was in better form.
Because he's in better form, and he deserved it. Yeah, he deserved to be there. There's only one spot on the pitch for a goalkeeper, and that's the harsh realities of being a goalkeeper. But it doesn't mean that goalkeeper is better than the other.
Yeah.
So, Morayo, do you have an opinion on that?
Casillas, I'm not sure. Like Mickey said, it seems like his mental, when he recover, because obviously he fell out with Mourinho, but we know Mourinho's a difficult character. But Ancelotti's come in, and he still hasn't fully gotten his number one spot back. You watched him at the World Cup; he wasn't impressive either. So there's a point where you can't go on what somebody did in the past. Like, I mean, every time Ronaldo steps on the pitch, every time Messi steps on the pitch, there's somebody calling them out and saying, he's not as good as they say he is, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think, no matter what Casillas has done, he should get the same sort of leeway, personally. We'll see how it goes this season.
The thing is, I think with goalkeepers is a special case. I think I've definitely been enlightened in recent months. Like, goalkeeping mentally is a whole other discipline. It's a whole other discipline, and I just think that, you shouldn't make too much of an exception, but you do have to bear in mind the whole kind of being in and out of the team. There's a reason why you don't rotate goalkeepers.
Yeah.
They need to feel like they're number one to be at their best. There's no goalkeeper that's just come in not feeling like they're number one and being amazing. They have to feel like they've got the full backing of the coach. And I don't think Casillas has had that for a while.
Why doesn't he have that? That's the question.
I think I've heard rumours about like his application in training, and I don't know if that's true, but
that's two top coaches now who haven't been happy with him.
I mean, but you got another thing you got to remember with Casillas. I'm not trying to make a judgment on his character or anything like that because I don't know the geezer. But when you're number one goalkeeper, what age did Casillas become number one? 19 years old, was it?
Yeah,
18 years old, and he's now what, 32, 31?
Yeah.
That's what, like 13 years of being number one goalkeeper with zero competition. You had guys like Jerzy Dudek signing for Real Madrid to basically go on the Jolly Boys outing and pick up, pick up medals.
To be fair, for Spain, he always had competition.
For Spain he did. For Spain he did, but at Real Madrid he never ever had competition, and that's bad for a goalkeeper. I know we've seen with Arsenal. I mean, Wenger's just brought in Ospina to really, really push Chesney, and there's no doubt about it that Chesney's form dropped off when there was no competition there.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just a way of it catching up with Casillas, complacency kicking in. And
I think at the end of the day, I think it's more a case of mental fatigue.
Being at the top for so long.
Like literally.
With no dip as well. Casillas didn't really go for a dip.
And as captain. And
so when you come back,
I think he just needs a coach. He just needs a coach to instill some confidence in him, because
he's still like being a 32 goal. That's kind of like you're not at the latter stages of your career. He can literally.
of course, our goalkeepers can play till they're 40, but
you can literally go.
I think he's just going for a blip at the moment. I think a lot of it with goalkeeping, it's mental. It's all decision making. As soon as you're mentally impaired, or you don't have the confidence to carry out your duties, you start making mistakes. And the best goalkeepers are the ones that make the least mistakes. It's not the best goalkeepers aren't the ones who make the most spectacular saves. It's the ones that make the least mistakes. And
well, I asked Lewis here, what is it with like? It kind of seems like it's kind of like a phenomenon where teams are getting like two very, very capable goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Because for example, like Bayern, they just got Pep Reina.
Yeah.
Spurs, Vaughan, Chelsea, Quartas, and Czech. Even United, Lingard's a good keeper.
See, I don't think it's a viable long-term thing.
Arsenal, Ospina and
Chesney.
Chesney.
Yeah.
I hate spelling that guy's name. Yeah, but like,
it's a myth.
but why are these goalkeepers going to clubs?
Like traditionally, goalkeepers there always used to be one number one. Whatever club you look at, go through history. There's always been one number one goalkeeper. Then you have a reserve goalkeeper who is reserved by nature, who probably shouldn't even be playing at that level of the game. But
I'm not understanding this whole kind of like white two number ones. Trend that's going on.
What I try to understand, Mickey, is why they're doing it. Why the second number one is doing it to themselves.
Yeah. Like I can't work out for the life of me why Ospina has joined Arsenal. I can't work it out.
You're actually just banking on an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when there's like.
I think it's kind of a.
It's not.
Well, maybe it is for, you know, that what you just said about Casillas being unchallenged at club level for 13, 14 years.
No.
Maybe it's good.
I'm talking about the individual goalkeeper that's going there to be number two.
So
even though
you think he can be number one?
There's no way Pep Werner went to Bayern Munich think he's going to display his manual note.
Why?
No way. Yeah. No way. I don't know why he's gone there.
Because I do not think he's disabled.
Yeah. And let's face it, Pepe Reina is a really, really good goalkeeper. And I don't know why Bayern Munich have. This is another thing. I don't know why Bayern Munich. Well, actually, I suppose I can see why they would have done it for the competition side of things. But why are they offering? I don't know how much he's on, but I would imagine that he's not on a small amount of change, and I don't really understand why they would give their second choice goalkeeper on that amount of money.
Forget. But I don't get it from like guys like Vorm, guys like.
Because you ain't displacing Lloris.
Especially Pep Werner, who I think is still an excellent goalkeeper.
How dare you do that? What? Nothing.
We'll never know whose house that was.
I don't know Ellis was on it.
Well, it wasn't mine.
But I think just getting back to that though, I mean, there is a good point being that could be made about we saw Fabianski last year lift the FA Cup with Arsenal, and it has become a common theme now that you have your league goalkeeper, and then you have your cup goalkeeper.
True. That's a very good point.
So I
maybe
mean,
maybe it's that kind of way of thinking. Because even Real Madrid did that because Casillas started all of the Champions League matches.
Yeah.
And I think he started all of the
Copa del Rey in the Champions League, didn't it?
I think that's what Chelsea would do as well.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe these players are thinking it as like, well, you know what? It's an opportunity to win a tournament. You know, I'm going to be playing. Say, well, if you're in the Champions League and
you can easily get like 20 games.
20 games if you're given the opportunities, and then.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak from an Arsenal perspective. Chesney got replaced last season by Fabianski.
Yeah, but sorry, boys, that was my family. Yeah, but is that good enough though? Like, you're Pep Werner. I think Pep Werner's
not
still
playing in the Champions League, bro.
Reina will not play.
Reina's not playing in the Champions League. I'll take this for free.
I think he's just done it maybe to get a move to Spain. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
To Germany,
Pep Werner's ability
I say
to chill
Spain.
on the bench. Why? Pep Werner could be a good top goalkeeper for somebody else. So why is he chilling on the bench?
Medals, mate. Maybe.
Is Mignolet a better keeper than Reina?
No way.
Why did Liverpool get rid of him? Did he want
I heard something about Rodgers, not him and Rodgers falling out, and because he's a better goalkeeper than Mignolet, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I just asked that. Yeah. I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Not really a big fan of Mignolet.
No, I'm not a fan of Mignolet either. He's young, but there's a lot of better young goalkeepers out there than Mignolet. So.
What do you think the situation will be with Peter Cech and?
It's not a viable long-term situation. One will go.
Like he's gonna put Courtois in goal.
One will go. It'll be. I'll be surprised if Courtois starts. To be fair, I think Cech will start, and then Mourinho will slowly introduce Courtois, and then Cech will be off.
Both of them are world class, and neither of them should be spending any time on the bench.
No, exactly.
I think Courtois will start because I don't think there's no way Courtois is not forcing a move to Atletico if he's going to be on the bench at Chelsea.
I see Mourinho being there long term now, so.
I just think Mourinho would have said to him, "Look, give it 6 months. you will be Chelsea's number one. I just need to ease check out.
Yeah, but you forget that
maybe.
he's at Athletic. He was at Atletico Madrid, Champions League since.
Yeah.
And
Possibly.
he's been in that country for like 2-3 years.
But are Atletico Madrid going to front up? Because let's face it, how much is it going to be to buy Courtois?
20 plus, 20, almost 30. Maybe a world record.
It'll be a world record for a goalkeeper. It'll be more than Buffon.
Yeah, true. But they're willing. I know for a fact they're willing. They're definitely willing to grab him. So I don't know. But I think Chelsea. I think if Chelsea have any sense, they'll just sell check and just keep Courtois.
Yeah, so it's not a viable long term.
So they're going to make a profit on check because they got it for like £4 million. So
I don't understand how Chelsea are just extorting teams. You know, like I'm like, listen, you guys are getting money.
No, listen. Shall I tell you how happy I was when I heard the PSG president say that he couldn't afford Di Maria? I was like, who told you to buy David Luiz for 50 M's?
True.
Imagine, think about it. Because you bought David, don't get me wrong, I think David Luiz is a good player, but you bought him for 50 million euros, 50 pounds.
30 million would have 30, 20.
Marquinhos instead.
Exactly.
And then they have
half of that would have got him surely. 30, 25 million.
That creative midfield spark, which PSG have been lacking so much in Champions League, was put on the plate for you, Angel Di Maria, but you can't afford it. Good for you. So happy.
So what? They would have to sell Cavani, right?
And they can't.
How do you guys feel about there's a bit of a theory going around that PSG basically bought Luiz to have the World Cup winning centre back pairing in terms of Thiago Silva and David Luiz.
Way.
Oh, and then it backfired on them.
It was a risk, but I mean, in terms of a commercial,
they are good together. To be fair.
And I think it will fit PSG's what they're trying to do in terms of expansive type of football. Well, I don't think they can afford that as much with Alex.
Alex is left. Alex is left anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So and it makes sense. I just don't understand why they bought Marquinhos just to go buy flipping David Luiz.
Yeah, it makes absolutely sense.
Well, I'm even seeing Barcelona trying to offer 35 mil for Marquinhos.
Like, it'd be worth it.
This guy's had like one season, I swear. Marquinhos had one season, I swear.
But the thing is, it's just like
he would be worth.
I don't know because it's like I think
probably be better than PK. Bartra at the moment is pretty good, but Marquinhos.
Yeah, like for me, like Bartra, that's the person that you really need to be focused on because if he gets coached right, Bartra will be a very important player.
And he's only like 22, right?
Yeah, he's only young. He's Puyol wasn't better than him as a centre half at his age, and that's Puyol. You know what I'm saying? Puyol was highly rated, but at the time he was playing right wing back.
Yeah.
So, for me, PK, Bartra, they've got Jeremy Mature now, and I think they probably, maybe another one, maybe with Marlon, because I think Song is going to go to the reserves, because Luis Enrique, I think he said that he's going to play Mascherano as a holding midfielder this season. How many games?
What, Song's going to Barca B, yeah?
Can he even play for them?
Yeah.
Can he play for Barca B?
Why not?
I thought there was like an age restriction on it or something.
No, adults playing in that. That's a proper league.
Really? No. I know the league is a proper league, but I thought maybe Barca. I thought Barca B put their.
You have to be registered. You can't be registered for both teams.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to transfer. You have to transfer over or something, don't you?
Between teams.
What? So they're just gonna lodge him in Barca B for the whole season?
It depends. For me, it depends.
I think Man United should sign him, to be honest.
No thanks. No thank you.
When I was calling for when I was calling for Son, that's those dark days for midfielders. I called for Son, Iguain, Filet. I was like,
I'm not gonna lie. Not even for United. When Chelsea fans were asking for Guarin, I was actually holding my head. I was just like, are you serious? Guarin is like, he's an app footballer. He's another one of these app footballers that will just shoot from any distance. He don't care. He's there for just athleticism and shooting from distance. That's all Guarin is there for.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks in January he was looking at hot property, innit?
Yeah, bro. I was just like, what?
His value decreases by the day.
Say that again?
Guarin's value decreases by the day.
Yeah, like he's
terrible. Like everyone just realises because I don't think he'll start for into next season.
Nah, definitely not. 100% not.
I saw a link to Manchester United the other day. I was thinking, skiing.
They just got Herrera, and Guarin can't defend, even though it wouldn't make sense. I mean, he'd add more depth, and everyone's better than Cleverley, but it's not the type of midfielder they need.
Yeah,
I've
guys.
got
Yeah, go on.
I've not got a question, but I've got it's kind of a question. Junior, whatever his name is, Junior.
But Sondico Junior.
He's basically said on Twitter, "What's your most controversial opinion?" So I was thinking if I were to come up with 3 controversial opinions on football, we could discuss them.
Sonogo will score 15 goals in all competitions this season.
Jesus Christ, you went out there.
Wow.
You really went out there.
And that's all based on what I saw in training today.
Alright, 2 more.
Vidal's overrated. I don't know how controversial that is.
No way. Whoa. No.
I don't even like Vidal that much. He's not my type. He's not just. I don't really like box to box.
I didn't say he's not good. I said he's overrated.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I don't think he's good as our fans.
So overrated in terms of people saying he's the best box-to-box midfielder in the world.
He probably is.
He's in the conversation, but I just think in terms of an actual footballer, how.
Yeah, I don't really like him that much.
How rated he is, I think.
I just want United to buy him. My main reason Man United buying him because 1, he's a gazillion times better than what we have for 1, and 2, just so I can laugh at everyone who said that United can't sign any world-class players. That's just the only reason why. Personally, I'd rather us get Blind and Classy because they just look like they can ball. I just want players who are just sick on the ball. That's me personally.
Yeah, his athleticism is what puts him up there. I think
my
about it a few times.
opinion is that Yaya Toure is vastly overrated.
And you're not alone.
For me, for someone to say, I think when you say someone's overrated, what's the consensus on Yaya Toure?
That he is. Do you know what? People are split. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. For me, that has to be a consensus.
No. The reason why I say I think he's overrated, I'm not saying that he's not ball or anything, but when people put him in the top 5 midfielders in the world, I think that's vast overration. Yeah.
Do you not think he's in the top 5?
Is kind of weird.
I don't think. I personally don't think he's anywhere near.
I don't know if he's in the top 5. I don't know if he's there.
No, he's nowhere near because I'll tell you why. Not just ability wise, but why would you put him there? Because he bangs in the Premier League. He doesn't bang. He doesn't bang, and even in the Premier League, does he bang to that top 5 level extent? No.
Well, the thing is, I don't think if you're talking about the consensus, I'm not talking about my individual opinion. I don't. If you were to ask, generally speaking, to the Twitter universe or whatever, who's the top 5 in the world in centre mid position, I don't think he'd be there.
But do it today.
I think he would.
No, I think he would. I think he'd be top.
I think he would be.
Do it today.
We'll do it today.
I think
I'm
he's
telling you,
definitely in there.
names there will be Iniesta, Fabregas. I think everyone will put Busquets because they feel they
I
have
don't
to
think
now.
so. I don't think he'll get a lot of. I think he's rated by people who watch football properly, but by people who don't watch properly, they still don't like.
But then how do you determine that? But if you ask Twitter, if you put it out on Twitter, I guarantee you Yaya Toure will be in the top 5 for.
I think he'll be in the top 5. So
100%. Because I've done it bad times, so he's always there.
Yeah.
He's too productive.
He can't hold the candle to guys like Luka Modric.
What's another overrated? Who hasn't done their overrated opinion? Up there. What was the question? Sorry. Controversial opinion. Reuben hasn't done one, right?
Is my mic working?
Palace are going to make Champions League, yeah?
Yeah, it's working.
I don't really think I have many controversial opinions. I'd say Gibbs is better than Shaw. Smalling should arguably start for England, and Barkley's overrated.
Ooh.
Daniel
Swagador.
I'm not doubting. He's he's entertaining to watch. I like having him in the England squad, and he's exciting. But his ability to break on the ball and his acceleration and stuff disguises the fact that his passing in the final third is disappointing.
Decision making is
decision making.
Yeah,
but that will come though.
Yeah, but
it will come. But at the moment, I think he's slightly overrated.
Look, I think people are they're rating his ability in terms of his ceiling. In terms of the same thing I think people do with Jack Wilshere. They rate
if everything comes together. What
currently
he will be.
Yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That's fine. My controversial opinion. I'm not gonna say the one I said it before. This is the one I want to discuss at length. Daniel Sturridge is overrated.
What?
Give some reasons that make.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Daniel Sturridge fan, but I think people personally, when people put him like in the same category as the Karim Benzema's, the Wayne Rooney's.
Oh my god! My days!
I think it's cheeky because the other day somebody said Benzema or Sturridge, and I said, "Oh, Benzema," and they're like, "Are you crazy?" I was like, "Huh?"
Here's about Daniel Sturridge.
I remember when we had that long debate. I don't know if you guys remember. We had that long debate.
Rooney, Sturridge.
No,
but that was a bit
Sturridge
different.
and Benzema. It was Sturridge and Benzema. It was on the timeline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We were watching a Liverpool match. It was me, you, Mickey, Ife, and I think Swag Daniel. And we were at it for ages, and we were like, how can you call him better than Benzema? And they were just saying
so
crazy.
It's about Sturridge. I think with the thing Sturridge is the street baller that made it. Like he's the goals guy, the power league guy who made it. And I think because we kind of relate to him on that sense, I think we kind of overrate him. I don't know if I articulate it personally speaking, but I think it's a thing where he's obviously you judge a striker or any player by the fundamental role that they have. So I'm a judge of defender. The fundamental role is to defend, and a midfielder, how many chances he creates or how many chances he may stop if he's a defensive midfielder. An attacking midfielder, same way. We judge him off the fundamental role of their position, right? But I think the modern game and the best players do more than that. Like, they do as much as the other side. They do as much facilitating as they do provide the end product. And I think outside of Daniel Sturridge's end product, which is something that can't really be questioned, because I don't question his end product, but I was about to say that, Mickey, that, do you know, like I say, the best strikers are the ones, in my opinion, that can always look dangerous without even scoring that game. Like,
definitely.
Last season, I watched Suarez, go 5 games without scoring. I think he got man of the match all 6 games. That's crazy. Like, for me, I've never heard anyone say Sturridge is playing sick or man of the match when he hasn't scored. Swear down. Yep. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing about Suarez. Like, Suarez will get the goals, but like, even when he was playing versus Man City, both games, especially the game at the A he had, he was a menace. It was crazy. He was against Arsenal. 5-1 he didn't score against Arsenal, but he was moving crud. And that's the only reason I say he's overrated, because he gets put alongside those strikers like Benzema, like Lewandowski, I even heard him get compared to Zidane. I was like, wait, are you actually doing it? At one point, I think it was like midway throughout the season. Who?
Can you just name and shame that person, please?
I can't remember. Daniel was definitely involved. He was definitely involved. Daniel Sturridge are going out, so you can't even. That's going to be biased. That's his missus. But that's what I'm saying. It's a thing where it's like, I think obviously goals is part of it, and it's still the fundamental responsibility of a striker. No one's denying that, but I think the best strikers are the ones where even when they're not scoring, they're still dangerous. That's not to say that Daniel Sturridge doesn't have the ability, because I do think he has the ability to play well without scoring, but his actual performances haven't reflected that, and that's the only reason I can't put him alongside the Suarez's, the Benzema's. Even Van Persie to a lesser extent. For me, I prefer Van Persie maybe a couple more years ago. I think especially... Yeah, Ferguson made him a 9, a poacher, and I don't like it. Yeah. Because there's so many... Because that's why if you proper United fans will tell you that Rooney is still more important than us than Van Persie, because in games, not because of ability, it's because the roles they do. Because Van Persie, if he doesn't score, he actually doesn't. I've got another controversial opinion, and it's going to be along the same lines. I think a strike partnership of Rooney and Welbeck will look better than a strike partnership of Rooney and Van Persie. I was having this very same discussion today. Rooney and Welbeck bang together, like unbelievably. And I think Van Persie and Welbeck would look better than Rooney and Van Persie as well. Yeah. I don't know, because Rooney and Tevez, they're very sigular, but that's the best strike partnership I've seen hit the Premiership, in my opinion. I'm not gonna lie. Aguero and Tevez were dangerous, but they were only dangerous for like 6 weeks. But I'm saying, I think if they kept them together, they would have been rapping it like. But that Rooney and Tevez partnership, it was they were on the same wavelength. They thought the same. They were so similar, they thought the same, and it just worked. With Rooney kind of needs a strike partner who's like, they're quick, and you know that whole Van Persie talking about, he's in my zones, and
He wasn't even bullshitting. Like, they end up stepping on each other's toes, like, when they're playing together. That's why.
No, but I personally think that they, like, you can see, because there's a lot of games where they have created goals for each other. So that was more in the Ferguson season, because obviously they're both very intelligent players. Yeah. But I think it's us, the way we play. I think that there's a way we could play where they could both play and they could both back. It's just about developing and understanding each other. Certain players develop and understanding very quickly, and certain players take a bit more time.
I think it does depend on the system, but I can't think of a system where that would work.
I'm telling you right now, this season, if Rooney, Mata, and Van Persie stay fit together, they'll probably clear 60, 70 goals. I promise you, this season, if they all stay fit.
I can see that.
I think they'll keep playing 3-4-1-2.
Yeah, if we play that formation, all three of them, they're going to go crazy this season. That's my personal opinion.
Guys, any more listeners' questions that don't have anything to do with the upcoming season? Because next week we're going to be doing a season preview, so I kind of want to leave them till next week.
Okay, fair.
So does anyone have any?
Check. Give me a second to check.
I've got one from Pharaoh T.
Yeah, go
on. He says, can we name some strikers that we can expect to become top strikers soon, as no top strikers are available at the moment? Well, other than maybe Cavani.
Kevin Volland.
Wilson for Manchester United, or just a young British talent.
Top striker.
Yeah, Wilson's a banger.
He's sick.
I would say Kevin Volland from
Hoffenheim.
Absolute menace.
What position is he at 9?
He's a 9, but he can play out wide too. But he does play 9.
Him and Firmino's link up, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I've seen them a couple of times. Hoffenheim score goals for fun. They're just shit.
Yeah, I think for Hoffenheim he does tend to play more so out wide.
Yeah.
But he is naturally he's a centre forward. Where else?
What about the Morayo guy? Is he good? I haven't seen him.
That guy needs to stay fit, and like when I mean not like injury. He's not so much injury. Like literally his fitness.
I saw him 2 years ago, and he was like looking crazy, like some next Ronaldo. But then last season, he couldn't even get into the Udinese team. He was looking
fat. He didn't go to the World Cup either, did he?
Yeah, like boy.
Someone needs to take a risk on him probably, and you know,
I would say
give him like a lead role.
Origi, he looks pretty good.
Who?
Origi.
Yeah.
He did look really good at that.
I think Sonogo as well. Like.
The thing is, crazy. I would not be surprised if he made it.
I'm telling you, Sonogo, he's gonna become Arsenal's all-time greatest goal scorer.
I was saying it the other day, like for me, he just has this personality where
the personality is everything, man.
I'm a sound like Sam Allardyce, but he gets about.
He gets in and around.
Running around, he's a terrific lad.
He does the channels well. He puts his heart on his sleeve. I hate the type of players.
Even though obviously it's youth level and you could kind of factor in his physique in comparison to players of the same age group, but his scoring record, coming up at Auxerre and at France. Remember, he bodied the under-20s World Cup. Like he bodied it. Like him and Pogba were like the best players. So there's definitely, for me, it's just something that if something happened, I would not be surprised. You know what I mean? I saw DJ Drogba, like the way he stepped up, like you could see the change. Like when he was 24, 25 when he joined Chelsea, and his touch was just bad as Senegal's.
Was he older?
No, he was about 24, 25.
Yeah, 24, 20, because he was about 23 at Marseille.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say about 24.
So, I'm not to say he's going to replicate DJ Drogba, like, I don't know. But
those kind of cases are like, they're not common, but it's the character of the player.
But
like for me, like if he showed the application, then I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, he's a nuisance. But on a serious note, is there any other
striker?
Yeah, strikers.
I don't know if it would count. I was going to say Mobile. I think Mobile may really come out as like one of the best in Europe.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, but no, I think that is a good shout actually.
Who else? I'm trying to go with that.
Depending on how many games he gets at Juve, Morata could really improve.
He's a baller.
He's a baller.
Oh yeah, that's a good one actually. Yeah. He's just got injured, didn't he? How long's he out for?
Did he? Oh, they've still got Llorente and Tevez as well, haven't they? So
yeah, they have.
Juventus just get too many strikers. They always have about 5 strikers.
Have they still got Vucinic as well?
Yeah. I think they get rid of him, aren't they?
Oh, are they?
Sorry, guys,
and
to
they
interrupt.
still got Giovinco.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen this? What United are refusing to comment on Arturo Video transfer?
Okay.
Yeah.
I've already. To be honest with you,
How long have I
in
been
terms
telling
of-
you? How long have I been telling you that I'm not even trying to banter you lot? Vidal is coming to Manchester United.
Yeah, you did say that a while ago. So
I don't think maybe you forget what club Manchester United.
No, he is
I'm just saying
coming.
that
We signed a player. We signed a player, and the guy managed to end up at Chelsea. Trust me, Manchester United and transfers. I don't believe it.
Right, who was that? Who happened that?
Mikel.
No, but that was just dodgy.
Well, Reuben was chilling in our training ground in Carrington, and then next week I hear he was at Chelsea.
No, but that's how that's how they do it, man. Like,
Yeah, but
just
that
comes
happens
in
all
a
the
gap
time.
in
That
there,
happens all the time, man.
Chelsea lost a few players, you know.
It happens to everyone.
Hold on, like you lot are talking like the way you did in that kidnap Berbatov. Like, please.
Yeah, Ferguson said, Man City were meant to speak to him. He's like, nah. Picked him up from the airport real quick. Yeah, it's cash. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's what we should be doing now.
So how Arsenal stole Ramsey
like,
from Man
that
United as well.
was a Man United player like a month ago, man. I was just like, yeah, I came to terms with it.
Yeah.
Actually, this Quadrado to then I'm dancing.
I haven't watched him enough to have an opinion on him, you know.
So
I might try and check out a few of his games, man. What is he? What, to play wing back? Yeah.
Yeah, he's so. I think obviously when people say, what could he defend? But we're not saying.
Is he a right wing back or a left wing back?
Right.
But
Right.
he's best as a winger.
What is he? But is he gonna get ahead of Ashley Young?
Lewis.
Listen, from what I'm seeing, Ashley Young is like the new.
This.
He's Jesus Christ reincarnated right now.
People don't insult him in his mentions anymore, man.
I know. That's what they
They also say keep it up because it's like he's been underperforming for so long. But now he's doing alright.
Yeah.
Oh, but Quadrado will be a dream, man. I just love to. It'll be just good to have an exciting player to watch again at Manchester United.
Yeah.
Like obviously we've got Rooney and Mata, but like somebody who actually generally just takes people on. I think that's why United fans love Welbeck and Januzaj so much, because they actually commit players and go past them.
Yeah.
But Quadrado will just be great to watch. So I wanted to get him, but we'll see.
Guys, do we have a last question we can do before we wrap things up?
I got one for you guys.
Go on.
Who's your favourite player from yesteryear, like as you're growing up? Who's your favourite? Name 3 maximum.
3.
Ronaldo.
Lewis, Ronaldo, or Cristiano?
No, Lewis. Okay. Good.
Yo,
Basically, anyone from like from that Gazetta Sports on Channel 4. Anyone during that era.
Zidane, obviously.
Anyone
Totti.
playing in that era.
I love Francesco Totti, and I'm trying to think.
Because that was the only foreign football I used to watch as a child.
Young now. I never got to see these players in their prime.
I hate that. You know, I hate that. There's so many players that I wish I watched, like players in the 80s. Like,
Yeah.
I can't
Like my top 3: Patrick Vieira, Thomas Rosicky.
Thomas Rosicky,
Yeah, I love that. No, Pablo Aimar was my third one.
Yeah, like Thomas Rosicky, Patrick Vieira, and it's a throw up between Michael Owen and Henry.
Yeah.
I'll go with Henry though.
Yeah, Thierry Henry's like, it has to be in there, but...
Yeah.
I was Totti, Zidane, and Aimar. I love Pablo Aimar, man.
Okay, I want to do players I never played for my club. My favourite by a distance, Juan Román Riquelme, the best number 10 that's ever played a game. Don't argue with me, I don't care. Kaká. And
Kaká. Forgot about him.
I'm torn between Andrea Pirlo and Luis Figo.
Yeah.
I never liked Figo, you know. Even though I knew he was good.
Yeah, I wasn't a Figo fan like that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay,
I knew he was good, but I didn't like him for some reason.
Keep those guys out of Skype.
No. I respected him. Okay, if we're going to do players that won't play for my club, it would have gone, Michael Owen, Thomas Rosicky, and...
When Rosicky went to Arsenal, I was sad, man.
And, Rafael van der
I
Vaart.
was so sad. I really liked
Van der Vaart.
Van der Vaart, when I saw him, was under 17s. Like, how old was I? This is like 2001, 2002? Oh my god, this is going to be way back. Yeah. Thomas Rosicky, Van der Vaart, Michael Owen.
I would say mine would be Ronaldo. I always had a fascination with Ariel Ortega.
Hey, Ortega.
Ortega was like the biggest myth. Like, everyone loved Ortega, but I don't think people knew why. I think he was like
character, you know.
No, like Ortega was always like everyone. Yeah, Harry Ortega. But it's like, what did he ever do of note?
Yeah, I loved him. I loved watching him play football, and probably Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah.
My three would have to be Henry, Cristiano Ronaldo, and either Giggs, Scholes, or Owen. Probably Giggs.
Yeah.
Owen was so live back in the day to watch. Like,
Oh my god, Owen was so sick.
I was his biggest fan in like 2002.
See the final when Arsenal outplayed Liverpool. And
then he just snatched it from you lot.
I know, but the referee fucked us over that game, man.
Yeah.
Stefan Onsho was saving goals on the line with his hands.
Was he?
Yeah, he
all
should have
I
got
can
sent off.
remember was those finishes, the left foot one. And the thing is, because everyone just knew it was going in because it's Michael Owen. Like, he just slotted.
The thing about Thomas Rosicky, like when one of your favourite players actually joins your team, ultimate gas. And then
I love Rosicky.
He hits two worldies. Like the day that he signed, you hit like two worldies for.
I don't think you guys understand how happy I was when we signed Carlos Tevez, because I tried to follow, because I was quite nobody really knew about streaming when I started university. So when I was younger, I was one of the few kids with laptops, and I found streaming. Just being in Nigeria, finding ways to watch.
While you're surfing for porn, you come across like...
No, I'm not you, Lewis. Anyway, from early, I've been watching like a lot of foreign football before quite a lot of people have. So I'm talking Tevez when he had the trim.
The trim.
When he had the lines in his head.
Yeah, the trim, bro.
The days when he used to be at Corinthians, when he actually used to be fast.
Yeah.
So when we signed Tevez, I was like, oh my god, Tevez, I was gassed.
Well, had he lost his pace by the time he came to United?
Yeah, he was way quicker.
Really?
Wow. Way quicker.
My friend used to bang on about him as well, but I never got to watch him at Coventry.
I think the last time I remember Tevez being prime, not prime, I mean prime physically Tevez, was probably, I'm not sure if you guys remember, friendly, I think it was England, Argentina. I think I went in Geneva, where it was 2-2. And I think we played like a 4-1, we played like a 4-4 diamond, where you had Ledley King, Lampard, Gerrard, and Joe Cole off Reen Owen.
Oh my god, I remember we played Ledley King in midfield. What?
Yeah, when it's playing holding mid.
When I say Juan Román Riquelme made everybody in England just chase shadows for the whole game. And because you've got Riquelme, he's physically a mess.
Give me that one when it was 3-2, when they stole England stole at the end. Yeah, I watched that game.
Riquelme that game.
Batistuta as well.
He was a goal scorer.
I remember Batistuta being like a monster on the old Pro Evos and FIFA 98.
He was a goal
FIFA 98 was the first game I got, but I never really remember.
How old were you? What? How old are you? 98?
I'm 18. I was born in 96.
What the hell? Why did you were 2? 98? Why would you
I was playing Xbox when I was 2. We got a PlayStation 1 and I started playing it when I was like 4 years old.
Oh, you were saying when you were 2, man.
That's why I love my little brother. He's been playing it since he was like 3.
But yeah,
I'm actually at 5 years old.
I remember that game, Then he hit that free kick. Everyone thought he was going to strike it, but then he just chipped it, and nobody was ready. And
now, you know what? What about players that maybe didn't bang, but you loved the idea of him? If that makes sense. Yeah. So they didn't really bang, but you loved them because of just who they were or the ideal of that player. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah. My person is Johan Goku.
I liked him as well, man.
He was tech king.
It was like watching Zidane, bro. It was crazy. Close I've seen to him. Physically, it was nuts. That was a shit. He didn't have the mentality, man.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Do you know what? When we first signed Anderson, I loved him.
In the 07-08 season, Anderson was amazing.
So you know people make those jokes about, remember when Anderson bossed Fabregas? He actually, that first season, I remember, he bullied him.
He bullied. He was bullying guys because he would match him for tech.
Anderson
and then overpowered him.
Anderson will come on, he will lick a 60-yard through ball, or he will just get it drive past foot. I used to love Anderson. Why do you have to be so fat, bro?
Do any of you remember the goal that Ronaldo scored against West Ham in 07-08, and it came from a Berbatov flick on the line, and then he scored it? That ball came from an Anderson through ball, and I remember a lot of that season. He was putting so many nice passes around, but then he just sort of faded into
Yes, injuries and being fatness.
Io and Morayo, do you regret Fergie making him into a central player?
No, because I think if he applied himself, he would have been a beast.
Yeah.
But don't you wish you got to see that sort of
Like for me,
that Porto?
I was surprised because I remember the season before he played up front. Remember, I think he played against you.
He played second striker. Yeah, he played second striker.
And he was just driving past all you. And I was thinking, wow, Anderson, how are we going to fit him in? They played the centre mid. I was thinking, Fergie, is he taking these pills or something? I was confused.
Yeah, and if you remember the very start of 12-13, I think. No, 11-12.
Him and Cleverly.
Him and Cleverly together, yeah.
One of my friends then.
They were the partnership in the 8-2 against Arsenal.
Yeah.
One of my friends still bangs on about that, like, that's the best midfield in the league. I say, hey, leave it, man. Forget about it.
And then Cleverly got injured and he hasn't been the same since.
They beat us 4-1. I remember we were beating teams, then we played City. Lost. That's when Balotelli did the "Why always me," brought up his T-shirt. And then
that's all Evans' fault, and then Evans and Rio's afterwards. But anyway, let's forget about that game. But yeah, okay, do you know we said the player of the idol you like? I think mine also is. Remember Carlos Eduardo for Porto, or Carlos Alberto?
Yeah, the winger, the white player.
Yeah, the winger / attacking midfielder. So techie.
Wait,
so techie.
can we just take in like that Deportivo team as well?
Well, Valorant,
Juan Fran, Jalminha.
I'm not gonna lie, I never understood Diego Tristan. I didn't know what kind of striker he was. I was just like, who's this guy, bro?
Yeah, he just bagged.
Roy Mackay.
He just bagged.
Roy Mackay, yeah. Oh, Roy Mackay.
Roy Mackay is the only one of those footballers I remember.
Valorant was so
I remember Roy Mackay, I always just felt of him like a watered-down Ruud van Nistelrooy, like.
Yeah, that's true.
Didn't he score the fastest goal in the Champions League ever?
Wasn't that Gilberto? I thought that was Gilberto.
Yeah, Gilberto took it afterwards, I think.
Oh, okay.
But he had that.
But yeah, I think the number 10s of when I was growing up were a lot more gifted than the ones we have now.
I don't even say that. I think they're wavy. I don't know if they're more gifted because
I see wavy as a gift in my opinion. So that's
that's what it is. I don't think certain number 10s will be able to. I don't know if they're able to hack the pace and like the tactical demands that our number 10s have.
True.
Yeah, but if you're not taking into account that these guys kind of developed in this era, like.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's
the game's sped up. Like, if you tried to put like guys from the 70s in this game, they'd struggle as well because.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's a 50-50. Could go one way, could go the other. Because maybe someone couldn't hack it at all. Some would have welcomed it. Some of them would have, adapted. So my thing is that when you start comparing players from different generations, you start getting into very murky waters because, and then there's all sorts of intangibles.
Raquel May will be the best if yours here right now. I'll take that for free, man.
I tell you who else was a baller. Laudrup.
Oh my god! I remember '98. Was it? I think the Denmark '98.
Nah, that was Brian. That wasn't Michael. That was Brian.
It's Michael was a real baller. Brian was
Michael was a real baller, bro.
Michael was nuts.
I think I'm too young to remember.
Michael was nuts.
I remember the celebration. I don't know if you remember the goal. It was in '98 where he scored and he ran across the pitch and he did like a slide and he just like relaxed on the floor. Like,
yeah. The freak. Yeah, I remember that. That Denmark team. They got to like the quarters. I swear.
You guys are old, man.
This guy, bro.
Who's that? Lewis.
I'm Lewis, bro. You look about 40. You're trying to say we look old, bro. Get out of here, bro. This guy looks like
Listen, Ayo, can you shut up,
please? Listen to the guys here who are like 48, and they've been divorced like twice. The kids don't take their calls. All they do is they open a cafe and they make sure they shut early so they go watch the Arsenal.
It's hard because like when you're 50 years old, you'll still look the same. So people will be like, you look young for your age.
Reverse Benjamin Button syndrome, man.
Benjamin Button without the good looks, bro. Get out of here.
Anyway, guys, I think we should leave it there.
I can see Lewis earning a calf. I can see it so bad. There was them pictures of Arsenal eating right on the wall and
Ray Parlour. Don't forget Ray Parlour.
A signed JVC shirt. I can see it already.
All right, before we go, Ayo, do you want to send a message to anyone?
Everybody, football in 3 weeks, everybody's dead.
Well, there you go. I think we'll leave it on that note. Thanks for listening. Thank you to my guests. You've been amazing. Thank you for all your listeners' questions. And we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.